Next town board meeting, please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Jeff Monahan, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Michael Safone, Fourth Ward.
Ann Church, Sixth Ward. Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, attorney for the town.
John Baisley, Town Supervisor.
And I see Ann Berger on Zoom.
Yep.
She's trying to get it there.
Yes.
Okay.
Ann Berger, Third Ward.
So we're participating from Zoom tonight. On tonight's agenda, we have a proclamation beginning for Spartans 2022 baseball champs. Number 2 is a public hearing for the zoning code amendment 210 Tattoo Parlors, Red Oaks Mill. Number 2 is presentation by Chief of Police Joseph Cavalieri on body cameras. 3, a presentation for Schatz redevelopment. 4, set a date for a public hearing for property maintenance at 31 Robin Road. 5 is a resolution for outdoor music fee. 6 is a resolution that'll be tabled. It's for Arlington Spadco Pump Station. It should be on the first week in August. 7, accept electrical inspectors list. 8, accept the retirement of Shelley Crespo from traffic clerk in the police department. 9, accept the retirement of Mel Bruschetti, police lieutenant. 10, accept the resignation of Eric Romeo as a police officer. 11, accept the resignation of Eric Johnson as a police officer. 12, accept the temporary appointment of full-time police assistant Rick Page. 13, accept the provisional appointment of Michelle Wanella, the traffic clerk. 14, accept the appointment of Bill Freer, police maintenance worker. 15, approve the 2022 town board minutes. 16, authorize the supervisor to sign county snow removal agreement, change order for the county. 17, authorize the supervisor to sign legal documents relating to the Vassar Inn and Institute. 18, the notification of a liquor license, Harvest Enterprise, Dev Food LLC, Tamarind Indian Restaurant. 19, notification of claim, Taylor versus the town, Breslow versus the town. 20, authorize a special consent, SC1, authorize a water storage agreement for Peach Road. This time I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item on the agenda, and please ask that you stay to 3 minutes. Doreen?
Thank you, Jay. Jay, I have a question on agenda item number 12, the appointment of Brooke Page as full-time police assistant. That's the only one that doesn't have a salary on it, like 13 and 14 both say how much it is per hour. Do you have that information?
I'm going to look right now.
I can read it to you. It says, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Brooke Page as a full-time police assistant at the town police department on a temporary basis due to leave of absences not to exceed 90 days starting July 31st, 2022.
Probably at the fee that she already makes, maybe, because she's already works part-time. So she'll just be temporarily working full-time.
Yeah, she's filling a vacancy right now during, so
She
her
already
salary
works
she
part-time,
has now.
somebody's going out on a leave, so she's just being
Correct.
authorized to work full-time for that leave. It's not a new hire.
Right, okay. It would have been nice to have that on there, but thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? I can't see it. Can you see that, Felicia?
Hey, Jim?
Go ahead.
Hi, Jay. I wanted to just make a comment with regard to those the tattoo parlors that are rolling in. I know we have a couple of them already. I've never been in one, to be frank, and so I don't know if this is a standard operating procedure that they do post full disclosure on, how things can go badly with, when you talk about tattoos and blowouts and excess bleeding or infection and all that kind of stuff. So I was wondering if that is a matter of the usual standard operating procedure where they have full disclosure posted somewhere for the public and for, teenagers or whoever comes in that's not really familiar with the process. That's number one. And number two, I would think that there would have to be some special disposal for the hazardous materials, bloody rags. I guess that would be considered infectious material possibly, and that there should be, arrangements for that, and that it's not put in the, disposed of in the regular kind of way. And, it does concern me also with some of the population now having blood clotting issues and how that's going to pan out for these tattoo parlors and how they're going to kind of take precautions for those kinds of things going sideways for customers. And in addition, that on that full disclosure, it really should be public knowledge that, that people should know that the inks are not FDA approved for subcutaneous injection. It's the manufacturing process, perhaps, for some of these inks that are FDA approved, not, kind of like they have good procedures to make crackers. That you have certain types of, cleanliness and like that in order to produce what might have contact with, human beings or skin. But none of them are approved for subcutaneous injection. And I think that needs to be clear, and, informed consent is a really good thing. If you want to do it, fine, but people need to be informed, not bamboozled into thinking, one thing or another that's maybe not a factual fact. So there are those things. So I didn't see any of those notes on this particular agenda item that these things were going to be suggested because the tattoo parlors are regulated under local jurisdiction. So, I do wonder, if something happens to somebody, are they going to then blame the town if you're not going to post these things as informed consent? Because then, once people say, yes, I want to do this anyway, it takes
Michelle, I think you hit your 3 minutes.
No, she's got another minute left.
Does she?
it takes the onus off of the town if something were to go badly. And the RFID shipping, I just wonder how they do feel about that and whether that's going to be a business model going forward for them
Michelle, can
in
you
the
wrap it up?
future.
It's almost 4.
That's it. No, that's all. Those are my points.
All right, thank you.
And I hope they were addressed.
I'll include that with the public hearing comment.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that
Thank
would
you.
discuss any item on the agenda?
Jennifer Goldschmidt.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Turn there.
So I just wanted to take this opportunity to restate the grave concern and outrage among hundreds of people and leaders and experts about the proposed location for the Innan Institute and about the concomitant destruction of the Green and of the Williams Hall buildings. They are so important to the history of this community and to the quality and character of this community today. So I'm speaking up tonight to ask you to move the Innan Institute across the street so that the beauty of that property can be beheld by guests to the Innan Institute, and to protect and prevent the destruction of this rare and iconic open green space in the town of Poughkeepsie. We testified to the continued elegance and beauty of those buildings that was only harmed by the dark paint and the ways that Vassar recently tried to do fire drills in the buildings, but they have stood with their integrity for 100 years, and with the correct paint and investment in their adaptive reuse, Williams Hall could also be a wonderful place for the Innan Institute. There are 40% tax credits from the state because of their historic value, and Vassar has many good options of where to develop this project. So we continue to be very concerned, and we continue to fight to protect this location, and we ask you tonight to vote for a continuance to do a full environmental impact review or your own review of the a full review of the quality of the alternative sites, which was never done, so that we can continue to have a beautiful town with an open green space. No one argues with the value of the Innan Institute and all of the ways it will be a celebrated gift in this community, but not if it is destructive in its development. So we ask you to hold off on the legal permissions that will be voted on tonight. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Joanne?
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 I think she's trying to mute herself.
We're waiting. There we go.
I forgot to unmute. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm here to second everything that Jennifer just said, and even more so. But I also wanted to remind you that I was recently reviewing some of the town board meetings when you were first beginning to look at this project, and there were significant reservations at that time. And none of those in the course of following these town board meetings have really, really been addressed. Just somehow you guys were just worn down. At one point, a board member said it's not the project itself, because someone was saying, it was a smallish project compared to other things that you have to review. And they made the very wise comment that it's not the size of the project, but the impact depends upon the location. And that's exactly what we're addressing. We just think there are far better locations where it will be a benefit to everyone and a detriment to none. I'm again second Jen's comments. We would really like you to go back and take a second look at this location and do a more expansive environmental impact study on this. There are other places that it could be located, and it would be much, much better. So this is our request at the moment. Please hold off. I know that it's been a very long time, but please hold off on signing these legal documents and take a second look at this project and this location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Luke?
Luke?
Hi, I also urge you to refrain from signing off on the legal permissions to give Vassar permission to demolish Williams House. This has been going on for 4 years, and the length of time that it's been going on is due to the amount of community opposition to the location of this project. No one is arguing that the Innan Institute shouldn't be built. It's the location that has always been the problem. Since 2018, Vassar has been proposing to tear down Williams. In 2021, the Town of Poughkeepsie's Historic Preservation Commission voted unanimously to recommend that the Williams House be designated a local historic landmark. Their recommendation acknowledged the importance of Williams House in the history of women at Vassar, as well as its architectural significance. The Town of Poughkeepsie ignored the recommendation. The pitiful attempts by Vassar to say that they would preserve the history of the building but not the building itself, it's just offensive. Vassar wants to demolish these 3 historic buildings, aiming to replace them with parking lots for their Innan Institute project. It's just disgusting. The I&I project will also destroy approximately 1/2 of the beautiful green space along Raymond Avenue that has been treasured by the Poughkeepsie community for decades. It will also seriously degrade the small-scale residential feel of the adjacent neighborhood by increasing traffic and noise. And there have only been a pittance of minor modifications to the plan to take any of this into account. Hundreds of people, including Poughkeepsie residents, neighbors of the proposed project, Vassar faculty, staff, students, and alumni, have repeatedly expressed their outrage at Vassar's choice of location for the I&I project. At scores of town board, planning board, zoning board meetings over the past 4 years. But these concerns have largely been ignored. Vassar has never seriously considered alternative locations, despite the perfect location along College View Avenue. The project is supported if it's at a different location. The town has even changed the zoning law to give Vassar an exception for building and operating a hotel at their chosen location. I'm just crazily disappointed in the town board, the planning board, and the zoning board. 4 years of community opposition, and it's largely been ignored. So I urge you once again to not give Vassar permission to destroy a piece of their own history and to ruin one half of the green space that the community treasures so much.
Thank you, Luke.
Is there anybody else?
Elena Collins?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me all right? I just unmuted. All right. I'm also here to speak against the proposed construction of the Inn and Institute. I would like to second the statements that have already been made by my neighbors. I would like to repeat that I'm strongly urging the town board to hold off on granting legal permissions to allow for further review of this issue. As has been mentioned, it has been a long time, and yet no environmental study has been done, which could shed light on the long-term consequences of construction in this particular location. That could have at least been done to inform the proposed construction. We urge you to deny permissions at this time so that the Inn and Institute could be moved to another location. Currently, the proposed construction in this residential neighborhood will have a devastating impact on the residential area and the green space. All of this has already been addressed multiple times. As has been mentioned, the board has ignored 4 years of community opposition, and community opposition is your neighbors. We are your neighbors, and we are asking you, we are begging you to listen to us. We have been consistent in our opposition, and yet all of our efforts have been ignored. This is the last opportunity for the board to show that they are not deaf to our appeals. Please hold off on granting the legal permissions to allow this construction. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Beth? You have to unmute. You have to unmute, Beth. We can't hear you.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Beth Darlington. I live on Vassar land at 16 Vassar Lake Drive in Poughkeepsie. We came to teach at Vassar.
Go ahead, Beth.
Excuse me?
Go ahead.
I didn't hear what someone just said.
Go ahead, that was somebody else on the,
That was somebody else.
Okay, I was saying I came to teach at Vassar in 1967 and taught at the college for nearly 50 years, so I've seen a lot during that time. And I'm urging the town to hold off also on making any decisions. I've spoken at numerous town board meetings in the past 4 years to oppose the college's plans to demolish Williams House and the green space, half the green space on Raymond Avenue close by. I'm deeply disappointed that the town appears to have ignored the statements of hundreds of Arlington residents about the negative effects of this destruction and the construction of a parking lot for an inn and institute on the site where Williams currently stands. I oppose the demolition for a number of reasons. I can only mention a few tonight. First, the college's plans will destroy a building over a century old, built by Vassar alumna Harriet Williams from the class of 1870. So that single women teaching at the college could have the dignity of their own living space instead of sharing bathrooms and kitchens with students in college dorms. In 2021, the Town of Poughkeepsie's Historic Preservation Commission rightly and unanimously voted to designate Williams House as a local historic landmark. The Town of Poughkeepsie ignored the recommendations. This is an insult to the college's proud history as an institution founded in 1861 for the education of women, supporting their growth and integrity. Second, the proposed demolition and construction will radically alter the character of College Avenue neighborhood in terms of its architecture, but also its quiet and safe character. We've talked about this before, and hundreds of Arlington residents have registered their opposition to the construction for this reason. These protests have been ignored, and the town appears willing to change its zoning laws to accommodate the construction. Third, Vassar's alumni and alumni have been appalled by the college's plans. I spoke with many of them at Vassar's reunions last month, who expressed their disapproval of the plans and the demolition, as well as their anger at never having been informed of the proposed changes. Fourth, and I've spoken of this before, the green space provides a quiet park where people from the neighborhood can rest, play, attend a Thursday market, or gather with friends. No other park space exists close by, and even if some of the green is preserved, any diminution is unacceptable. There's more to say on this subject, but others will speak to salient points, and I don't have time to address more tonight, but thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Is there anybody else?
No.
If not, motion, anybody else? Motion to resume the rules?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Tonight's meeting, the very first thing on our agenda is a proclamation for the Spackenkill Spartans 2022 baseball team for being state champs. The varsity baseball team defeated Schuylerville 6-4 in the state finals on Saturday, June 11th. They're the 2022 New York State Class B champions, and the last time this happened was 2005. So congratulations, guys. It's been 17 years, so definitely something in the making. We're glad to see. I want to thank all the parents that supported the students and the students' families, the fellow students and the fans that came out to support them during all this, and the support that they got from the community when they returned back home. It's something that makes a community a true community, to see what you got from your families and what your families gave back to you, and the fact that all the time and effort that your mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, and neighbors put in to you coming up. Some of you have played with our Cal Ripken League and our Little Leagues coming up, so it's nice to see where you started as a youth sport, that you actually have grown into something, to see where the money your parents spent on you from 5 and 6 years old actually turned into be something for them to be proud of. In some cases, maybe this will even help you moving on to your college. I want to thank Coach Neese for taking this team and bringing them to where they were, and this town board is extremely proud of what they've done to the town of Poughkeepsie. Spackenkill is the only school that is totally in the town of Poughkeepsie, and some of the outlying schools did very well also. But you guys were the champs. We're glad you could come out tonight, and the town board acknowledges. I want to thank you. We have proclamations for all of you. We'll call you up one at a time.
Jay, if I could just add up, I graduated from Spackenkill and actually played football with Coach Neese, so I get what it goes into being on the team. I also coach my daughters in youth soccer, and here's the thing that has really impressed me is with Coach Neese. It was 15 years ago, 17 years ago. You've been with these teams, with these kids, developed them over the years. In order to do what you did this year, you have to be perfect. Every game, every inning, you make a mistake, you have to shake it off, you have to do better than everybody else absolutely all the time, and it's almost impossible to do. Like, people don't achieve that in their lifetime. So you guys were perfect this year as far as your sport goes, and I'm very proud as a graduate of Spackenkill, proud of what Coach Neese has done with these teams over the years. But again, it's just amazing because any little thing goes wrong, you have a bad day, you don't make it to the next round. And I watched and I watched and I watched, and I was just blown away by the fact that you guys did everything that you needed to do to win each game. So I applaud you. I think it will serve you well. Years back, you'll look at this, you'll talk to your friends. This is something nobody can ever take away from you in your lives, an achievement that you've done that is better. You, for one point in time, were better than anybody else at what you do. So congratulations.
Whereas the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie, on behalf of the town of Poughkeepsie and all the residents of the town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby salute Don Neese and the players of Spackenkill Spartans 2022 baseball team And whereas the town of Poughkeepsie recognized Don Neese and the players of the team for their outstanding accomplishment in 2022. Whereas along with this team shares the win of the first state championship in 2022. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie is hereby enthusiastically proclaim and extend its appreciation to Don Neese and the Spackenkill Spartans 2022 baseball team win. And be it further resolved that an originally signed proclamation be forwarded under the great seal of the town of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, State of New York, to Don Neese and the town of Poughkeepsie Spartans 2022 Spackenkill baseball team. Signed, John Baisley, July 6, 2022. Coach Neese. Ken Herrera. Congratulations. Thomas Van Nees. Andrew McDermott. Dylan Bonine. Brian Hoyt. Andrew Speranza. Andy Utz. Xavier Zykov. Sean Lucas. Carter Usher. Linus Odom. Dylan Updike. Anthony Hoyt. Tate Wishred. Steven Ciancio. Dustin Burgess. Nick Rayon. Better be. Dan Collins. Congratulations again. Thanks for coming up, and thanks to coach, staff, and their parents for all they do for this youth. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That brings us to public hearing number 1, zoning code amendment, chapter 210, tattoo parlors, Red Oaks Mill. To make a motion to open public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody here that'd like to discuss this public hearing? And would please ask you to limit it to 3 minutes. Anybody? No? Make the motion to close this public hearing?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, Jay,
Go
Jay,
ahead.
I just wanted to underscore everything that I've already shared, and that I would hope that full disclosure would be, necessitated, would be needed to be posted because of the fact that there is local jurisdiction over the tattoo parlors and what they do in them. So please, consider all the things that I've said, and I do hope that all of the tattoo parlors have to concede and post full disclosure so that there is informed consent to this procedure on people.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Okay?
Is there anybody else? If not, a motion to close this public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Renahan?
Being enacted the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie pursuant to a duly noticed public hearing held on July 6, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. Does hereby adopt local law amendments to Chapter 210 entitled Zoning, specifically 210-29 entitled Red Oaks Mill Neighborhood Services Center District related to tattoo parlors. Be it further enacted that the local law amendments are annexed hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein as if recited verbatim with the words underlined to be added and those words stricken to be deleted. And the town board does direct that said amendment be spread across the record as if they in fact have been read verbatim. And be it further enacted that the town board has previously declared its intent to act as lead agency under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and does declare that said action be type 1 action under New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and be it further enacted that the town board has reviewed the long environmental assessment form prepared by the Director of Municipal Development and hereby determines that 1, the adoption of the herein zoning amendment would not have significant adverse effect on the environment, and 2, the supervisor is authorized to execute Part 2 and 3 of the EAF as drafted, and 3, a draft environmental impact statement will not be required for the reasons set forth in the attached determination of no significance, and 4, a negative declaration hereby issued, and be it further enacted that a written recommendation was received from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development dated June 21st, 2022, stating the proposed amendment was a matter of local concern, and be it further enacted that a written recommendation dated June 17, 2022 was received from the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board in which said board recommended adoption of the herein amendments, and be it further enacted that the legal notice of public hearings was posted on June 16, 2022 and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on June 21st, 2022. And be it further enacted that the town clerk notified the clerks of the surrounding municipalities of the public hearing pursuant to GML 239NN. And be it further enacted, and that said local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
We got a motion second. Is there any further questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. That brings us to,
Ann, did you vote?
no, motion passes
Okay.
6-0.
Thank you.
Presentation by Chief Cavalier. Welcome, Chief and Captain.
Well, so much this is going to be a presentation as more as a discussion, and the bottom line will be funding for body cameras. I hope some of you had time to review the material I emailed you regarding the equipment we're looking to purchase. Just like to start out by saying the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department has a history of leading law enforcement and technology used in law enforcement. The late 90s, we were the first to have all our cars equipped with mobile data terminals. In 2005, we were the first to have all our marked patrol cars to have mobile video recorders in the cars. And right away, we saw major benefits. Our DWI cases were no longer being taken to trial. So the judge might be able to comment on that. As soon as you had the video evidence of the field sobriety test the defense attorneys were pleading the cases out and weren't taking them to trial. And what we were also finding it that we were easily investigating civilian complaints, whether the officer was at fault or was not at fault and was doing his job properly. It was all documented properly. And because the majority of our work in the town is done around vehicles and vehicle and traffic stops due to the amount of traffic in the town, it was covering the majority of our interactions with the public. But now it's time to expand body cameras. 80% of large departments in the country currently have body cameras. Currently, 7 states mandate the use of body cameras. In 2019, the AG's office issued a report on a shooting that happened in the town of Stamford, and coincidentally enough, it was a prior town of Poughkeepsie officer that became a state trooper that was involved in that shooting. And after they looked at the case, one of their findings was that we encouraged the state police and lawmakers responsible for funding to join the 1,000 of other law enforcement agencies around the state and country that have worked to equip their members with body cameras. They felt that the evidence of the video would greatly assist in the investigation of what actually took place on that date, and that was in 2018. A current command staff meeting with commanders of local law enforcement agencies, Troop Major Kat Rode spoke, and she openly said that the benefits far weigh out the cost of the cameras, and that she found that the body cameras protects her officers and found them very useful in their day-to-day work. Chief Pate, just the other day when we were investigating and talking to them, he doesn't know how he's conducted business without them. Currently, I also spoke with the Chief of Police, Robert Benson, from the Hyde Park Police Department. Recall they just recently had an officer-involved shooting up there, and he immediately was thankful that there was a state police officer on scene during that officer-involved shooting that recorded what happened. Otherwise, he said the investigation would have been a lot more difficult and would be to determine what actually happened, and it was able to get the investigation and the findings done a lot quicker. Consequently, if you look at the town of Fishkill, they were before the shooting in Hyde Park. They also had an officer-involved shooting down there, and there was no body cam or vehicle camera footage of the shooting. Luckily, they were able to locate some video footages from businesses nearby to help them in their investigation, but had they had the body camera that day, I believe it, and I think they believe too, it would be a lot easier to find out what would happen. It's kind of, the department has been studying body cameras since 2015. It's kind of been a rite of passage when you become the patrol captain. And, Captain O'Dowd could do it too, because when I vacated that office and he took it from me, there's a big binder that I believe then Captain Spiro at some point had started investigating body cameras, and we keep adding articles to it. The biggest thing I believe has been holding us off from going forward with it was the cost of the body cameras. And that came, the major cost and expense that we were not willing to bring to you was in the need to hire more employees to process evidence and the cost of storage. Specifically, it changed first in 2019 in 2020 when the state legislature put into effect the new discovery law changes and the bail reform. They really put a lot of work up front on the police departments to provide evidence to the defense quicker and to the district attorneys quicker, and all evidence. It used to wait to hold it. If the case was going to go to trial, we would then produce it. Now, no matter what, we have to produce all this evidence in a very short timeline and quicker. With further investigation with this, there is a push in this county since police reform and transparency among police departments nationwide. Body cameras is what has been pushing it. Obviously, with the recent shooting, officer-involved shootings, it's put an increased magnifying glass on this county to have all agencies look at implementing these body cameras. The county exec is not mandated, but would like to see all police departments in this county. I believe there is a push in the majority, a lot of the surrounding agencies will be going to body cameras. Looking, since I've been taking a closer look at it with Captain O'Dowd, and we believe we can somewhat reduce the cost with the cloud services out there. Originally, we were always on the belief that we could do it cheaper in-house with servers, but it's also become, the only way we were backing it up was by burning stuff to DVDs, which has become intensely manpower restrictive and non-cost effective. If we move towards a cloud service, then it's on the cloud service to back all that data up, and it's backed up to state and federal standards. And it was also, we'll be able to save this evidence with the simple sending a link to the DA's office, and it will be on them to download it or access it. So it will again reduce my employees' time dealing with this. The immediacy that I'm coming to you in July requesting on this is to see what your funding is, because we are coming to a crossroads. Our current, and I'm looking to keep our current mobile video recording system, it's invaluable. While body cameras are great, so is the in-car cameras. While the body camera vision might give you the immediate view, the in-car camera will give you the overall view. I brought with me an example. I don't think I'm actually going to play it for you tonight because it's not as dramatic as I thought it is, but sometimes, you know, you're going to get the overall view of the incident if it's caught on the in-car camera. Plus, again, as much time that we spent in the cars, driving the cars, the accidents that sometimes we're involved with, the in-car cameras record stuff that the body cameras will be unable to save and save for us to present in an investigation. That in-car camera server is at end of life. We did receive funding of roughly $27,000 in a grant from the county to buy a new server. But that would, if I put that new server in place, it's just going to be doing the same thing of bringing the videos in the house, burning them to DVDs, and taking too much time. I have had initial talks with the county. They have agreed to allow me to use that $27,000 towards a cloud service for 2 years with WatchGuard, which is our current company that we have to do. So for the first 2 years, it won't initially cost the town anything to go to the cloud service for just our in-car cameras. They'll go in there after it's going to cost roughly $13,000 to $14,000. So I don't want to sign a contract with you thinking it's never going to cost the town. It is going to cost the town at some time. If I then also can get funding for the body cameras if we go to a WatchGuard solution, body cameras for 5 years is roughly $332,000, and I have copies of the quote, which roughly comes out to it's a lease agreement, and it includes the cloud storage for the in-car cameras, the body cameras, and their storage of video, and it would also allow me to input and download all our video recordings of our surveillance system at the police station, prisoner holding, and the outdoor cameras and stuff like that. It would also create me to have proper back storage and backup storage of those videos with the proper state retention periods, which is roughly a $58,000 to $59,000 a year commitment. We currently applied in May with the federal government for the BJ, the Bureau of Justice, came out every year with a body camera grant. They give you $2,000 a camera. We did 68 cameras, so it would be roughly over, $130,000 that we possibly might be getting from the federal government if that grant comes through. I don't know when they're going to announce that grant. The other issue is that everybody in the country is looking for this funding, and there's only a limited amount of funds. And the majority in the past or recently, federal funds are going to the cities, not to the towns and the municipalities. The county is also talks of possibly giving funding for body cameras. Originally, I thought they weren't going to place a mandate on who we use. As of last week, I heard that they are pushing that the only funding that they will give to agencies is if they use Axon body cameras, which I can't see. I don't have a problem going to Axon body cameras to receive that funding. The problem is that then I would have two different systems. I'd have WatchGuard in-car cameras and Axon body cameras, which is not a good. It's two different technologies, two different video systems. There is technology out there to sync them and bring them together, but it's two different systems. And there's two of the attorneys in the room, no offense, they always think of a way to bring doubt into cases, and I hate to have doubt brought into our video evidence that has helped us so much in the past. So I'd like to keep with a consistent system. So that would require us replacing all our in-car cameras with Axon in-car camera systems, which right now, roughly, we know that they're somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000 a unit. So that would be roughly almost another $120,000 that we would need to come up with. We are waiting for Axon to give us a quote and to see what the final numbers that the county is willing to give us. I haven't had those numbers yet.
Joe, what's the cost to sell the current car cameras? Is there a price that we can get for them?
Trade-in value?
Yeah.
No.
And we have, Axon's the one the county wants, what's the brand we call it?
WatchGuard. WatchGuard Motorola.
Is there, if you were just starting out and you're looking at both, is there one that you would prefer?
We prefer WatchGuard. We've been with WatchGuard since we were the longest standing customers. Their customer service to us has always been good. They've been in the video business a lot longer than Axon has.
So I guess maybe that, hopefully there's the possibility that the county will, is the county buying them in bulk and that's why they want us to do that, or is it?
There's two reasons. Yes, the county's trying to get a better deal for a large discount purchase from Axon, and the district attorney, Axon was smart. There's a district attorneys association that covers 55 of the 64 counties in the state, and there's that association provided all district attorneys with their digital library evidence. And Axon gave that association free access to Axon's, so the DA's office can easily just go in there and manipulate and get the video. So, and I understand the DA's office is looking at this on their bottom line. It's cheaper for them and easier for them if everybody's on the same system.
My feel, I think body cams are a good thing. Having interacted with the town police department for 5 years over there, I've always been impressed with the professionalism of our force. And I think when you do things right and the way you're supposed to do it, the body cameras will generally be a very good thing, because there's a lot of times where it shows that what was said, what someone is telling you is different from what actually happened. And sometimes it's just recollection. The adrenaline's flowing, everybody's moving, but when you see video in a case, it is what it is. You can listen to two people tell that story, and then you watch the video and you go, okay, I understand exactly what went on there. So I think the in-car cameras have definitely been useful from my experience. And our police force, like I said, I think it will be a good thing for our police force. It's also a good thing for the public, that it holds everybody accountable in what you do every day. And then in the cases, I think the prosecution of cases will be that much stronger going forward. So it just makes a ton of sense. The cost of all this pales in comparison to one bad incident that you don't have proof as to what actually happened. So you have one incident where someone is claiming something and there's significant injury or damage or whatever it is, and you don't have any proof, and it's one person's word against the other. The cost of lawyers, litigation, and insurance companies and everything else is horrendous. So to me, there's so many reasons to do this, with or without funding from an outside source. With funding from an outside source, it makes it a lot easier. But I do think that this is where we should go. And I repeat stories to people over and over again about my experiences watching our police force and the professionalism, and that's why I say I think it's good. I think these things will be, I think more often than not, you'll see them used in the prosecution of cases where it'll be information that can be verified now. And you will change the dynamic of a case that would otherwise go to trial because just a whole bunch of people trying to tell a story versus now you have the picture. So I think it's a great thing. I put my confidence in you guys here at the town to decide where to go with it, so I'd be supportive of either direction.
Thank you. I guess that answers my question. Unless there's any other.
Any questions at this time? Joe, I
It
did reach
will be
out-
an increase in the
common
budget.
sense.
I don't.
It's common sense, period.
I know sitting here for almost 17 years now, the car cams have saved us multiple times already. And that was car cams which were beginning before body cams were even thought of. There was a couple incidents that when the truth came out, the truth came out. I did reach out to the county today. I'll have further conversation with how that went. That was, I thought, very positive.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And it's nice to bring it up to us so the board knows where we're going, so we realize everybody thinks everything's cheap. Realize you're not buying for one, you're buying 68 units. It's not cheap, and the cloud still seems to be the wave of the future, and we have to iron out what we think the cost effectiveness is, working with the DA's office, going cloud versus us still, working in-house that way. We work as a big team. We saw where Tyler Technology, when we all got together, and that has actually been beneficial to us, the county, and all the surrounding police departments, information and gathered. So to work together and make, which we always compliment some other states saying they've always been from the county out and not all individual pieces. I think that's still an avenue we have to try to play with to see if we can get everybody on the same page, because in the long run it comes out cheaper and it's more efficient too.
Did you have
Thank you
any
for-
other quotes, or is this the only one?
That's the only quote we have. Axon, they didn't furnish it with us, copy it. They want to meet with us first.
All right, thanks, guys.
Any other questions?
Will the public be able to speak to this?
At the very end of the meeting, if they want to make a comment, they can. This is just a presentation to the board. Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
On to our next presentation. Have you heard from him? No? All right, we'll go on. Shatz Redevelopment, we're waiting to see. He's stuck in traffic. See if he gets here before we get done with our board meeting. So with that, we'll go on to item number 4, 31 Robin Road.
Resolution number 4. Whereas in order to remedy, a copy of which is attached hereto, has been issued to the property located at 31 Robin Road, Town of Poughkeepsie, State of New York, pursuant to Chapter 159A Sub 4, Mowing of the Town of Poughkeepsie, Town Code, and whereas said order to remedy has not been complied with, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby set the 3rd day of August, 2022, at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, as and for the time, date, and place of a public hearing to consider a recommendation from the zoning administrator and that the town or its contractor remove as needed and continue to remove all garden waste, fallen tree limbs, and cut the grass to a height not to exceed 12 inches, all at the above property, so it will not become overgrown unsightly, the cost of which work shall constitute a lien and charge on the above real property until paid, satisfied, or discharged, and shall be collected in the same manner as any other town charge. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Ann's gonna read this. Whereas Town of Poughkeepsie Town Board having June 1st, 2022 set the combined fees for Chapter 145 outdoor music application and permit at $125, and wishing to clarify the allocation of that fee, now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board sets the outdoor music application fee under Chapter 145 at $25 and the permit fee of $100 per calendar year. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Number 6 will be tabled. We've got some further work to do on that. Number 7.
Be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint the following individuals to the approved town electoral inspectors list for terms ending December 31st, 2022, to wit, Adam Frank, Swanson Consulting, Alfred Shoger, inspections on time, Emanuele Zervakis, inspections on time, Logan Millington, LM Electric and Consulting Corp., Peter Jennings, Middle Department Inspection Agency, Frederick Colliard, Z3 Electrical Inspection Agency, Terry Weaver, Commonwealth Electrical Inspection Service. And I said elections, it's electrical. So moved.
Second.
I was like, why are we doing these electric elections?
We do them every year.
No, I know, I
Yeah.
thought, I read it
Election,
elections
yeah.
first, so.
No, that's over, that part's over for now. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept with regret the retirement as Shelley M. Crespo, traffic clerk with the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department effective July 29th, 2022. So moved.
Second.
And a motion second. Any questions? I would just like to thank Shelley for her many years of service and coming here and always being a pleasant voice on the phone in the traffic department. So wish her best of luck on her retirement. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Be it resolved, the town board of town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept with regret the retirement of Mel Bruschetti, lieutenant with the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department, effective August 5th, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed to see Mel go. He was great when he was our community officer. He really did an awesome job, and he looks so young. He looks like he's 25. It's just like, how can you retire and I can't?
Mel is young, and good for him to be retiring while he's still young and can enjoy it and do whatever it is that he's going to do. I just want to say I had the pleasure and the honor to work with him, or to interact with him over at the courts for the 5-year period and for all the time that I've been on the board. He's always been very professional. When he was involved with the traffic control unit, those guys take that so seriously, and it's important to them, and they don't do it to write tickets and generate revenue. They do it because they care about human beings and the results of what happens when people don't drive safely through our town. So I thank him for all that he's done for our town over the years and wish him luck in his retirement.
And I agree. It was a pleasure working with Mel over the years, and he definitely left his mark in the town of Poughkeepsie with the residents. He will be remembered as being a caring officer who did the best he could all the times under all the different conditions he dealt with. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does accept with regret the resignation of Eric Romeo, police officer with the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department, effective July 4th, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Get a motion and a second. Any questions this one?
Yeah, I'd just like to say Eric Romeo and Eric Johnson, again, I had the pleasure to interact with them. They've always been excellent and very professional. I'm sad to see them leaving the town. I hope that they're going to do bigger and better things, but both of them have always been tremendous to work with, so.
I can second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
11, Resolution 11. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does accept with regret the resignation of Eric Johnson, police officer with the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department, effective June 19th, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Brooke Page as a full-time police assistant at the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department on a temporary basis due to the leaves of absences not to exceed 90 days, starting July 31st, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby provisionally appoint Michelle Janilla to the position of traffic clerk with the police department at a salary of $19. Oh. Nope. I got it. As I was saying, be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby provisionally appoint Michelle Janella to the position of clerk with the police department at the salary of grade 4, step 1, $19.25.5 per hour, effective July 18th, 2022, which is subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint William Freed to the full-time position of police maintenance worker with the police department at a salary of grade 6, step 1, $22.5664 per hour, effective July 11th, 2022, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 8, no more than 26 weeks per civil service law, and be further resolved, the supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby accept the minutes for the following 2022 Town Board meeting to wit: April 6, 2022, regular Town Board meeting; April 20th, 2022, Committee of the Whole, regular Town Board meeting; May 4th, 2022, regular Town Board meeting; May 18th, 2022, regular Town Board meeting; June 1st, 2022, regular Town Board meeting; June 15th, Committee of the Whole, regular Town Board meeting. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the town of Poughkeepsie has been party to an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Dutchess to participate in the Regional County Highway Snow and Ice Control Program within the boundaries of the town through September 30th, 2022, and whereas the county has forwarded a change order relating to the IMA, which would extend it for an additional year, ending September 30th, 2023, with no change to the substantive or financial terms. Now therefore be resolved, the supervisor is authorized to execute said change order 20-0430-921 PW-A2, and Highway Superintendent Pfeiffer is hereby authorized to perform such work and to receive the materials and payments during the winter season of 2022 through 2023, and be it further resolved that this is a type 2 action requiring no secret review. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
This is just where we're paving, or we're plowing the county roads in the town, right?
Yeah,
Right.
we plow Main Street and I think a part of Creek Road. And back to what we were saying before about county services, we're driving over the same road. So instead of them routing their routes all over, they only make it available spots that are actually feasible. They just don't say because it's in your town,
Yeah,
do it.
no.
Yeah.
That's why the people complain about government. This is an example of where government actually works really well together because it's efficient. So that's just kind of nice to see.
Resolution number 17.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Resolution number 17. Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to sign a public utility sewer easement agreement, sidewalk maintenance agreement, community benefits agreement, declaration of covenants and restrictions, amendment and restated land banked parking agreement, and stormwater management facilities inspection and maintenance agreement, easement and agreement, and any supporting recording documents in regard to Vassar College Institute for the Liberal Arts, also known as Vassar Inn and Institute, in substantially the form attached. And be it further resolved that such acceptance and authorization by the Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie is subject to the provisions of required proof of insurance and payment, and the approval of all final documents by the attorney to the town, the planning board attorney, the town engineer, and the director of municipal development for the town of Poughkeepsie. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one?
Yeah, and looking through this and looking through the community benefits agreement, I believe Vassar had offered us that they were going to give us like a stipend each year for a few years towards recreation, but I didn't see it in there. Is it somewhere else?
It should be somewhere else. It shouldn't be in this agreement.
It's not in this agreement, it's an
It
improvement.
is in there. And
It's Mike Welty. It is.
It is in
It
there?
is in the, yeah, it is in there, yeah.
Okay, good, because when I skimmed
It's-
through it, I just did not see it, but I
Yeah,
didn't
it's
read it word
20
to word.
It's 2,500, I believe, annually. Yep,
Okay, good, just want to make sure it was in there.
yep.
Yeah, I am, all it is in there. Because I didn't see it either. Does anybody have any other questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1.
Who voted against?
What's that?
We're 18,
18A.
18A.
Be resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby acknowledge receipt of the request on behalf of Harvest Enterprise Incorporated, 38 Eastdale Avenue N, Poughkeepsie, New York, for a waiver of 30-day review period for a liquor license application. And be it further resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the town clerk's forwarding of a waiver and consent pursuant to the attached request. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby acknowledge receipt of a request on behalf of Matta Food LLC, Tamarin, 2185 South Road, Unit 1, Poughkeepsie, New York, for a waiver of the 30-day review period for a liquor license application. Be it further resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the town clerk's forwarding of a waiver and consent pursuant to the attached request. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one?
It's going to Bonefish Grill, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
It's good. Nice to see it. Somebody's going there.
Oh, this is the same one that's down in Wappingers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're moving
Oh,
to a better
nice.
location.
I've eaten there, it's very good. Definitely, if you want it not so spicy, you gotta tell them.
Well, it's nice to see that, you know, it's growing, it's going to a bigger location.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, then we have some notices of claim, Taylor versus Town, Verslow versus Town, and be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby grant special consent to the following items to wit: authorization warrant storage agreement with Peach Road, and be further resolved that upon objection of any member of the Town Board, an item may be removed from the list and voted on separately. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any question on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. SC1, be resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby authorized the supervisor to negotiate and execute on behalf of the Town of Poughkeepsie in agreement with the Dutchess County Water and Wastewater Authority for up to 10 years for water storage capacity 15,550 gallons for the Dutchess County Water District Zone of Assessment Z Peach Road Water System. Be it further resolved, the agreement shall be on substantially the terms annexed and those acceptable to supervisor after conclusion with the town engineer, water department, and attorney to the town. Be it further resolved that entering into this agreement represents part of the ongoing administration of Town of Poughkeepsie's affairs involving no change which will create a substantial adverse environmental impact and is a type 2 action requiring no secret review. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions on this one? Just, you know, this is not for a water sale, this is just for water storage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. That brings us to the end of the items on the agenda. Did Sean get a chance to get on? I heard he's supposed to be getting on Zoom. Sean, have you showed up on Zoom for presentation?
You see Sean? Is he on the phone? Sean, are you out there? You can unmute yourself.
Hi. Is this the end?
No,
this is
Michelle,
not
we're
the
looking
end.
for someone else.
We're looking for somebody to do a presentation.
Right.
Sean, if you're on the phone and you can't unmute yourself, use *6 to unmute yourself.
There he goes. Sean, did you make it?
Thank you, Mike. Hi, good evening. Sean Carney?
Good evening. Sean's here to discuss the Schatz redevelopment. Just introduce yourself, Sean, and your associate.
Sure. Thank you, Supervisor. So I apologize for not being able to be in person tonight. I'm stuck in a bit of unforeseen traffic, but Justin Lee from Carney Group is there tonight, and we have a short presentation to give the board an update since the last time we were in front of you, I believe back in January.
on some of the progress that we've made on the Schatz redevelopment project, and to discuss some potential next steps and more specifics. So Justin, if you wouldn't mind just going through the presentation, and then I'd be more than happy to elaborate on anything or answer any questions that any of the board members may have.
Yeah, not a problem. Like you said, my name is Justin Lee.
If you could just speak closer to the mic a little.
Is that better right there?
Yeah, much
All right.
better. Move your chair in, that'd be more comfy.
All right. Name's Justin Lee. Pleasure to be in front of you guys all today. I'm just going to kind of breeze through the beginning of the presentation, so I think you guys remember it all, but if I'm going too fast, just slow me down. So obviously, we're here for the Schatz redevelopment. Property is currently in a state of disarray. Interior. So it's roughly a 17-acre property. There's quite a few liens on the site, plenty of contaminants. It's a hazard to the surrounding community. And our overall redevelopment plan, we are planning for a mixed-use, mixed-income, and potentially artist housing development. It should be approximately 250 residential units, 165 one-beds, 85 two-bedrooms, and between 10,000 to 15,000 square feet of commercial or retail space. There will be some townhome-style buildings along Fairview Avenue that will also be mixed income. And we will make use of the two main factories on the north and the south side. We will be rehabilitating those and demolishing a lot of the accessory structures that are in worse conditions and surround the two central factories. So we were mostly in front of you here today to discuss next steps. One of those big next steps would be a change in the zoning. As the zoning currently stands right now, it's light industrial. It doesn't permit for the intended redevelopment use and obviously hinders us moving forward. And the second item we would like to discuss with you all tonight would be a proposed pilot agreement. This pilot agreement is very unique in that it's not a traditional market rate or anything like that. It's for affordable and environmental remediation pilot. Excuse me. And this pilot is based on affordable housing is assessed differently than regular housing. It is assessed based on what's called 581A real property tax law, and we have to be assessed like that because obviously our incomes are restricted, so we cannot be assessed as a normal property. So we are not asking for a tax break or anything like that. This is a form of codifying that 581A tax assessment in the form of a pilot to give our investors, lenders, and government-involved government agencies comfort with the project moving forward. The current property taxes, which are currently paid by Dutchess County, are about $182,000. And so as you can see, our proposed pilot would be, so stay with me here, this might get a little confusing. The proposed pilot would be for $212,000 with the addition of $53,000 for Fairview, which would be included in the pilot as an exhibit contract. So the formal pilot is $212,000, but it's really a $265,000 pilot, and that would be a 30-year pilot with escalations annually at 2% moving forward, and I think that is about it.
Quick question on that.
Quick, yeah.
Are those all in the same proportions as each taxing authority is getting paid taxes right now? So if we're getting 4% of the taxes and the county's getting 2%, and are those all in the same proportion? It's just you take that amount of money and divide it up according to?
Yes, so we arrived, so on the left-hand column here, we arrived at these proportions by taking the current taxes, finding those percentages, and applying those to our
Okay, so
new
whatever
proposed
the
pilot.
property is assessed at, if the tax was 265, it's being divided the way that it would normally be divided.
Correct.
There's nobody getting more or less in that.
Correct.
Okay.
The proposed pilot, if I can read it correctly, it says 30 years term?
Yes, correct.
You need a pilot for 30 years? When are the buildings going to be built?
Sean, I'll take this one unless you want it. There he is.
Sure, I can jump in. So the construction term would be about 18 months from beginning to end, once we close on our funding sources to moving in residents and occupying. It'll probably take us around 2 years from the start date, from when we take over the site from Dutchess County. Dutchess County completes the foreclosure process. We have an agreement with the town. It would take us probably 1.5 to 2 years to line up our financing. Then we would close, commence construction in another 18 months. Now the pilot would only take effect once we are in operation, once the building and remediation and construction is complete. Then we typically do 30 years because all of our financing is tied to 30 years.
Here's, if I could just,
We can do,
here's my 2 cents. Normally, I'd say 30 years is a long time for a pilot, and the 265 is not a lot of money, but I'd contribute to get that site cleaned up. So if, I'd go the opposite, where I'd be willing to give you guys money to help. It's not even my part of the town, it's in Mike's part of the town. That property is such a mess that something different has to happen, something more creative, something like this. So that's where, to me, normally, the numbers you look at and say, geez, but you guys are taking a big risk and doing a hell of a lot of work. And the net result, hopefully, if it's even close to what that picture is, will be fantastic. And it will be affordable housing and some market rate housing, I think. It will be a nice place for people to live that can't afford to live in these houses now that are going for 4, 5, 6, 700,000 in our town. So I think it's a tremendous thing. And again, the numbers being what they are, they have to be in order to get somebody to do this. We as a community should be proactive, as a government should be proactive in basically partnering with people that want to do something like this. You see it in other parts of the country and other parts of the world where you go and you go, wow, this is amazing. And it's when the government takes an active role in partnering with the private businesses to figure out ways to do something different that we get something better. So I normally, density, taxes, everything else are things that those buzz around my head really quickly. This project is a project that I really like. When you presented it last time, I'm comfortable with those numbers because of the fact that that property is such a disaster and such a mess, and we desperately need something good to happen over there. And it will go from an eyesore and like a contaminated mess to a place where hopefully everybody will want to be, and good people that can't afford a grossly expensive house these days in our county and our town will be able to live there. So Bill, I get your concern with the 30, but to me, this is one of those outliers where you do it because it's got the potential to be something special for our town in an area that, if you were just cleaning it up, I'd be good with a pilot. But cleaning it up and turning it into something that we can all be proud of, then to me it does make sense. We have to be a part of that process as government. So
Appreciate that, Councilman.
I agree with Stefan about the problem up there. I was at the DEC meeting, that'd be half a dozen years ago. I saw the photographs, I know how bad it is. So go. Next, the pilot. If I read this right, you're gonna need the pilot go for 30 years. How long is the mortgage? In other words, I don't think a pilot should extend to guarantee profits after enough time. 30 years in, you're going to be fully occupied, plenty of income. Why do you still need a pilot? Pilot's a gift.
That's a great question. Sorry.
Okay, I'm listening for an answer.
Sean, you still there?
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Bear with me. So that's a great question. Our financing, it'll be a tax exempt bond that's issued for this specific type of product, the mixed income or affordable development, and it'll be a 30-year bond. So all of our financing is tied to 30 years.
Okay, but you're not gonna pay taxes on the place for 30 years.
They are,
They are paying taxes.
reduced, it'll be a reduced rate with a 2%.
Yeah, and it's going up 2% every
They're
year.
gonna pay what's there in the proposed tax rate on the side.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it goes, there's an accelerator, it goes.
The
up
big
2%
problem though
each
is,
year.
Bill, we're paying those taxes right now. We pay our taxes. The county gets the money. The county then is paying those taxes. So we're all in the negative right now. The county is paying that $187,000 every year because that property is just sitting the way it is. So we're all losing money right now. So
But the
we're-
pilot is
we
for
can't be anything but better.
30 years.
No, I know, it could be 100 years, we can't be anything but better off, because if we do nothing, that will sit the way it is indefinitely, because you can't, the average developer can't develop that property. The average property owner can't manage it, so it's gotta be something different. Like I said, my head spins when you talk density, my head spins when you talk cutting, like lowering somebody's tax rate when it's a for-profit or whatever. This one, that's got to be cleaned up. It's in Mike's ward. It's a disaster. And you can't get the average person with a lot of money to even look at it. You have to get unique companies to come in to develop it. So honestly, their financing is 30 years. There's probably 1,000 different moving parts. And at the end of the day, if they need that to make all those moving parts connect, I'm okay with it. And I don't say that often, so that's why I say it. Like, this one to me is different.
Yeah, Councilman Carlos, I completely understand your hesitation and your worry. 30 years is a long time. It's actually longer than I've been alive, so I completely understand that. But this, again, is not, the pilot is based off of our 581A analysis, which is codifying our tax amount. So this is us paying our taxes, and this is the reality of how you can successfully develop an affordable housing community and have it be financially stable long-term.
What I will say is we've had only one other person interested in this since I've been in office, and we met, God, it had to be over 12 years ago, and, what'd you say?
So it's 10 years.
Yeah, and we met with the county, and that particular developer wanted the county to take over the property. At the time, they didn't want to, because the county would have had to take it over so they could get grants to clean this up, because it is a lot of money to clean up this property. There's a small section of it that has been cleaned, but I know I've been in the buildings with Fairview Fire District, and there's still a lot of issues that could run our budget up if it ever started a fire over there. So we do have to do something with it, and no one's really been knocking down our doors to try to buy that property. And you would think somebody would have wanted to buy it with all the college housing needs and whatnot. It's just too much money to clean up.
And over the next 30 years, I was thinking about this, my kids might graduate high school and go to work and not be able to afford a house in the neighborhood that they grew up in, but maybe they afford that.
Stefan, along the
there's-
line of what you said, I mean, we look at a mess, and it is a mess. It's been a environmental disaster for years. And so we met with the EPA and them, with Bill and them probably 10, 15 years ago, and this has been going on. They've cleaned it and cleaned it. There's still millions and millions of dollars with the cleanup on top of this project. It has to be there. Now, I'm the first one, not always a favor of pilot, and Sean and Justin can tell you, I have a million questions I've asked over this time, but to get to where we are, we need to clean the mess up. It's gonna help up there. Affordable housing, I've looked at the prices are something that's definitely a bonus, you know, and to get to 2% is something. We'd like to get more, and as Stefan stated, something else we look at, the 100 and some thousand we've been getting from the county for the last 12 years, which is now $1 million, that was shared with everybody throughout the county, because when that owner didn't pay his taxes, the county makes us whole. So the county's been paying us $118,000 a year for that piece of property that's down there. And the owners that are there now, the few businesses are there, will move out and hopefully come into the town to get business, because they're there basically rent-free right now because they made a deal with the previous owner also. So hopefully Schatz and M&O will be people that will build back into the town and buy properties in the town. So hopefully this is something going. I still have questions on it. We'll be showing up a little more as I go, because the comment he made here is once he gets it, what happens with the tax bill between the time that you take ownership and the time that you actually own? are you under that pilot agreement at that point, or are you stuck paying what the county share was before that, during that time frame? Did that make sense, Sean?
Yeah, I think.
Sorry.
Good.
I believe that we will go off the current assessment until and Mike, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, we will go off the current assessment until there's a redevelopment plan approved and in place that would affect the assessment. But the pilot would then take over once the redevelopment's complete.
Yeah, the pilot usually kicks in
That
once
makes
the first building is CO'd or temp CO'd to get going. That was the question I was trying to get answered today, but I think I was asking the wrong question.
Is the whole thing affordable housing or just a portion?
It's a mix, correct, of affordable and market?
No, the 250 units are all affordable housing. It's a
Okay.
range from, it's a 50% AMI, 60%, 70%,
Okay.
and 110%.
Wow.
Okay. So it's all.
It's a
right.
very mixed income community.
Well, and that's what I say. It could be my kids. It could be my grandkids, maybe 30 years from now. But it will give good people a nice place to live, and that is lacking in the town, the county. That's why I say you look at this picture, and just a picture doesn't say everything. The prior presentation, you showed other projects that you guys, the group has been involved with, and those projects were successful. I think there was one in Beacon, correct?
Yes.
So we
West
have
End Lofts
two
and
right
Beacon, Lofts on Main and Peekskill, and then the ones in Poughkeepsie.
Right,
Yes.
right, and that's where people show you a nice picture and tell you it's gonna happen, but then you show us a nice picture, and you guys have already done it. So that's why I say, this will be nice housing that good people can afford to live in our town, and it cleans up a complete disaster.
No, I've been to the Rupco property in Kingston, and I gotta tell you, it's very nice.
Right, that's
That's
what.
what Mike said on Pendle Commons, which they've had for over 10 years, that is the property now. And
still
though
looks
it's 10
fine.
years old, it's still in
Yeah,
very good
that's-
shape.
yeah,
Right.
very nice.
And
That's
that was
what-
something, when it first came here, I remember sitting next to Mike, everybody was skeptical what it was gonna turn into, and we're looking at 10 or 12 years out already, I think, and it's actually a nice property, kept nice. And I've discussed with the chief at one
spoken to
point.
people that live
It's
there
not a
and
place
they
with a
love
lot of
it.
issues.
No matter what use you put on that, it would be better than it is. But this is actually a really nice use. That's what I say. There's so many positives here that and again, just year after year, Mike lives over there. So his people have to see that. Bill lives over there.
And there's also-
That shouldn't exist in our town. It shouldn't exist in our county. Or it's going on for so long, and it never seemed to have an end. So that's why I said, whatever we can do to support this project will be a good thing. This will be something I think we should be proud of looking back, hopefully when it's built. And so, like I said, whatever we can do, I'm
There's also a small commercial component in there too.
Right.
Because that does butt up almost to the walkway, and the new urban trail is right on the back door. When we first met, and I don't even think it was Carney and group, it was the prior group, one of the questions we had was, you got the hospital right next door, and the nurses and the aides and everybody there. Now they may have a chance closer to be able to afford to stay. I mean, that county workers, town workers, not everybody makes $150,000
Well,
a
the
year.
support staff. I mean, that's the thing. It's, doctors will be all right. Nurses are doing pretty well these days too. Support staff, they need a nice place, a nice community. That's why, looking at your other projects, they're very nice. They are what you said. They are what you promised, presumably, to those communities, if not better. So this, is going to be a nice thing in your end of town.
Any other questions?
No, I agree. It's good to get rid of that eyesore over there. The only other question I had was, how about rec fees? Are rec fees going to be included in this? Does anybody know for this project?
We don't waive rec fees.
Huh?
We don't, Sean.
Yeah.
That's
Or are they
Sean.
doing
If that's directed at us, whatever is part of the town code as far as site plan fees, recreation fees, all those fees would still be applicable.
Okay.
I'm getting lights.
Then we're
I'm
good.
getting
Look at
lights.
that.
The main concern here,
I'm getting AstroTurf and lights at
so the
fair.
Go on, Sean.
So the main concern here is can this project work over the long term, right? Because we develop it, yes, we make nice pictures, we make nice buildings, but we also own these over the long term and we manage these. We've never sold any of our developments. in 30 years when the pilot's up, someone will be dealing with me or Justin or hopefully my daughter if I can drag her into this. And we're in everything for the long term. And our regulatory agreement, which governs our rent and our affordability levels, is for 50 years. So although the pilot's for 30, we still are going to be restricted, and we can't all of a sudden go to luxury units in year 31. We're still going to be limited on the amount of income that we can bring in. So this will be what we say it's going to be over a 50-year period, if not more.
Any other questions this time? Nope. Sean, Justin, thanks.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Bill, did you want to say anything, Bill?
No, I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
clarify that taxing. Thank you.
Could you email me that PowerPoint?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. You don't have to do it right now, but.
I'm just trying to get on the screen. I'm going to monopolize it.
That brings us to the end of our agenda. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item at all, and then ask people to please limit their time to 3 minutes.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Doreen? Did I hear Doreen?
Hello?
Hello?
Doreen?
No?
No,
Michelle?
I know we asked Doreen to speak.
Is she on here? Somebody said they saw her? All right, Michelle, go ahead.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Doreen has her hand up.
I don't see it. Oh,
Who seconded
Go
the
ahead,
suspending
Doreen.
of the rules? I'm just saying, like.
Doreen, go
All
ahead.
right, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, this is Doreen. I'm sorry, I was having problems with my computer, so I'm on the phone now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Doreen.
Okay, Jay, should I go now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, the only thing I wanted to say about the Schatz project, which wasn't addressed, is that being part of the New York State DEC Brownfields Cleanup Program, they are eligible to receive New York State tax credits anywhere from 10 to 24% of the cost of the entire project. So when you talk about not being able to, get somebody to clean it up, I just wanted to bring that fact out that, and it's on the DEC website if you want to look it up, but and it was the same case for 1 Dutchess Avenue, the Dutton O'Neill project. So they are eligible for New York State tax credits of 10 to 25% or 24%, and that's of the entire cost of the project. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention,
Thank you, Doreen.
because to me that's a sizable amount of money that they would be able to get.
Yeah. Agreed.
Michelle?
Michelle?
All right, thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, anyway, I had a couple of comments. One was on the flock system, and the other, of course, is about the zoning, the setback that was added to our code. I hope that's not the full extent of our, telecom update, our code update. I hope not, because first of all, the setback, the 100-foot setback is not enough. I mean, communities have gone for 500 to 1,500 feet in order to not involve property damage, and it is an environmental issue, whether the board wants to acknowledge this or not, and whether the board wants to just blindly follow the FCC now. That's certainly up for discussion, and it has been up for discussion. But 100 feet, that's ridiculously not enough. So, but here's the 20,000-foot view. What I'm seeing in the city of Poughkeepsie, they've had economic hardship for quite some time, not like what Jay has done for the town of Poughkeepsie in terms of keeping it afloat financially. But what happens is their blight comes in because people can't afford to live there. The taxes go up, more depressed properties are then around the depressed properties, because that happens in time. They don't pay, those depressed properties don't pay taxes. The land banks come in, the land banks wait, they play the long game, as your developer was talking about. Then all the properties around it start to decline. They buy up more land, the town suffers, you got crime, you got mental illness, of course that's sponsored by all the RF microwave radiation, and of course comes in the form of a gift, broadband for all, especially the disadvantaged communities. Yeah, we're gonna, create some mental illness there with all the RF microwave radiation. And then, the city of Poughkeepsie, they want them to fund the police. Of course, crime rises, and then of course you have to have surveillance. So this reminds me of something called the Hegelian dialect, which is you create a problem. I'm not saying you, but the powers that be create a problem, they wait for a reaction, and then they impose a solution that's already available that they wanted to do in the first place. Okay? So this solution of surveillance, there was a community in Florida that said, you got to take all these flock things down because you're putting it up and you never spoke to us, and it's, that hasn't been permitted, and they just did it. And all of this data that's being collected, because of course they probably got it at a discount, is no longer the town of Poughkeepsie's. It belongs to, whatever funding source helped you purchase this stuff.
Michelle, can you wrap it up?
So you have a really miserable problem when you take these federal block grants. They seem and they sound great, Jay, but they're always strings attached.
Yes.
And our local coverage is being usurped in this way.
Your 3 minutes is up,
So
Michelle.
that's what I have to say
Thank you.
about those 2 points there.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Yeah.
Anybody
Come on
else?
up.
Okay.
Come on up, sir.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we
Hello.
can hear you.
It's good? Okay. My name is Larry Treppel, and I'd like to update the town board regarding Vassar's killing of deer at their preserve. New information has been obtained through a recent FOIL request regarding this year. As you may recall, at a late 2020 town board meeting, when many board members learned for the first time that this was scheduled to take place in 2021, they made these comments. Supervisor Baisley stated, quote, "As far as the deer population, there has been a huge decrease due to the EHD illness that they got this year, and this was one of the areas that was hit pretty hard. The deer population took a huge hit this year. I know our highway department picked up hundreds." And another board member stated, "I didn't realize they had continued to do that year after year. I'm not a big fan of it. When you feed them and blow their heads off, or whatever you do with a high-powered rifle, it doesn't seem right to me. I'm sort of surprised they're still doing it." 2 of the board members contacted President Elizabeth Bradley the day after that meeting and asked her to cancel the upcoming killing. She refused. But days later, it was suddenly suspended. We assumed the terrible effects of the epizootic hemorrhagic disease and the board members' requests had stopped it. But in the messages we have obtained now, it was only because the DEC agents and attorneys were questioning whether they could even legally do this without violating the city's firearms ordinance. So it was really the DEC who stopped it that year. Last year, we talked to numerous students and park observers who unanimously stated that the number of deer had dropped off significantly inside and outside of the preserve since EHD started. And this post from the DEC website in September of 2021 states that EHD has been more widespread this year than during previous outbreaks. In Vassar's application to the DEC last December, they themselves stated that, quote, 2 dead deer were found in water bodies on campus during our fall surveys. Fever often causes deer that are suffering from EHD to die in or near water bodies. But But that didn't stop Vassar from wanting to do their own killing. They started baiting deer in December, needing 3 weeks of constant baiting to lure them in. And here is their own camera trap photo of this taken on January 1st this year by the sports field. They are there for one reason only, the pile of corn that's baiting them, which you can see on the lower left over here. 3 days after this photo, they started killing these deer when they came to feed on the corn. So over 3 January nights this year, 20 deer were slaughtered using high-power rifles and infrared night scopes. There was no justifiable reason to kill them, but Vassar continues to use manipulated statistics that portrays it as a necessary annual event. They are cruel. Anyway, I plead with the board members to request Vassar to end these killings.
When do
They're
they start
cruel, unnecessary, and also disregard the opinions of local area residents who are disturbed by having rifles fired in their direction, in many cases just several hundred yards from their homes. Thank you. I'm sorry.
The city of Poughkeepsie didn't stop them, and DEC didn't stop them. They just, I think, pivoted away from the city of Poughkeepsie. The city of Poughkeepsie had no, because I looked into it, I don't believe they had any authority to stop them, and they acquiesced and acknowledged that, but Vassar pivoted away from doing it in the city of Poughkeepsie. The town, some of us have expressed our concerns about it. Vassar, I met with them. They gave me information about their justification. They explained their justification, and I didn't really agree with it. They gave me backup information. I still don't agree with it. I've just started to see a few deer in my yard for the first time within
Yeah,
the
we don't
past
have hardly any this
couple
year.
months. Last year and the year before, I saw none. They used to have like the babies there. They'd grow up. They just hang out there. So there is clearly a difference in the deer population around here. I don't think the situation in my yard has anything to do with Vassar's cull. I'm sure they'll say, well, we culled the deer and that's why you don't have them in your yard. It's got nothing to do with it. It's the disease that's been killing them. I don't think they should do it. I do think it's cruel. That picture's horrible. They're feeding them, and I was the one who said blowing their heads off. They're feeding them and then blowing their heads off. I'll say it again. I just think that's horrible. It's inhumane. It's not what hunters do. It's not what you wouldn't bring your older dog to a vet and have him take him out back with a shotgun and blow his head off. Like that's not reasonable or nice or decent. I think it's horrible. We can't unilaterally stop them. We can ask them to, but we can't. I don't believe that we have any authority at all to stop them.
I believe we could pass a regulation you can't fire a rifle within so many feet.
But them using the USDA or whoever.
I think that's what the city did.
No, the city, I looked into it, the city did not have the authority to stop them. Vassar just pivoted away. And I looked into it, I looked into it with the city, and they acknowledged that they didn't have the authority, but Vassar pivoted away.
Excuse me, I agree, that's the city attorney's decision about that, so.
Right, but
if she thinks that, then that's true. It's
We
still
as a
borderline.
town, I don't believe have the authority to stop them. If I had the authority to stop them, I'd say no, but I don't have that authority, unfortunately. And I do think it's mean and inhumane. It's just, you don't feed something and then shoot it. You don't do that.
I'm not arguing about your
Right.
authority to stop them, I'm just saying, if you strongly recommend to Vassar and recommend to them that they stop it for all these reasons that we're talking about, and I think you're agreeing really with what I'm observing
No, I am.
too, and many people are, then maybe they will listen to the board.
And I gotta admit, I eat meat, so I guess but I'm pretty sure the meat that I'm eating isn't getting fed out in the pasture and then getting its head blown off. It's getting killed, whatever it is, I guess, but, so I do eat meat, so the fact that they kill it and then they donate it, to me, doesn't make it.
They're required to do that by
Right,
law.
but
It's
to
not
me, it doesn't
some
make it any better.
generous thing that
To me, it
they're
doesn't make it any better. Like I said, you wouldn't take your pet to the vet, and if the vet walked out back with a shotgun, you'd lose your mind over that. But they're feeding these things and then shooting them with high-powered rifles. It does seem cruel to me.
No. Thank you, sir. Nobody anything else? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Doreen?
Yeah, can I just ask you if you were able to hear my comments before?
Yes.
We were. Yes, we were.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we're hearing them stereotyping.
Is there anybody else? If not,
Anybody
motion-
else?
Yeah, I just have one thing to say is that we're having a movie night in Arlington this Friday. It's gonna start at 7 o'clock. There's gonna be a band and Crazy for Art with the art project for the kids. And then when it gets dark, they're gonna show Jumanji. So it's on Raymond Avenue next to Craft a Cup in that little open space. And the Poughkeepsie Library is doing it.
Anything else? Motion to resume the rules?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
8:47, town board adjourns. Have a great night.